Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation on the effects of common pollutant on seed germination. My name is Leah Jackson. My group members was Gabby, Caitlin, and Isaac. And we're going to be testing common pollutants found around your house, such as dish soap, olive oil, canola oil, and coconut oil. First up, we have Caitlin. Caitlin's hypothesis was that the coconut oil will have negative effects on the seeds as the concentration increased. Her control was 0%, which was just water. And her day one, as you see from her pictures on the right, it shows all of the seeds and shows that there's a little bit of germination that is occurring already on day one. On day two, she noticed that a lot of water has not been absorbed by the paper towel, but she was also surprised how there was a lot of seeds that has germinated. Day 3, she noticed a very sour smell coming from the 2%. And as you can see, there's also a lot of growth going on as well. On day 4, she noticed that percent 1 and 2 had fewer seeds sprouted throughout the paper towel. On this slide, as you can see, she has a visual representation of her graph of her experiment. The graph represented how her hypothesis was correct. As the concentration of coconut increased, the percent of germination decreased. Some limitation that she noticed was that with coconut oil being a thicker oil substance and oil and water do not mix, this could have impacted the results in making coconut oil not evenly distributed. Overall, she would like to try to overcome this issue of them not mixing, and will be interested in researching different concentrations to see the different results. Next up, we have Isaac. Isaac decided to test the pollutant of dish soap, and his hypothesis is that the higher concentration of dish soap present during germination, the lower the success rate of germination. His control was 0%, which was just water. His concentration tested was 1%, 2%, and 3%. Some things he decided to control within his experiment was the temperature and the light. He used 5 seeds in each condition, and over his observation, he decided to measure and observe the length of the growth over the days. So for his 0% solution, he experienced 0 out of the 5 seeds, which was very uncommon which was not expected, as he was expecting 5 out of the 5 seeds to germinate it. Some factors that could have been an error within this experiment was that the paper towel did not absorb all of the water, the seeds could not have been valuable, and that it's possible that it needed a more suitable environment. With these little minor infractions, it could have changed the results for his solution. For 1%, he experimented 4 out of the 5 seeds germinated, which would have been expected, as his hypothesis says that which was the lowest concentrate of the soap, and this is expected since in contrast to the 0% results that he experimented, his 1% is on track to supporting the hypothesis that he created earlier on in his experiment. For his 2% solution, he experienced 2 out of the 5 seeds germinated, which is different from the 1% results. With the soap clearly having an effect on the germination, this also supports his hypothesis that he made, that as the soap concentration increases, it will lower the germination rates. And for his 3% solution, he experienced 0 out of the 5 seeds germinated, which was expected. He expected 5. With this being the highest concentration and having the lowest germination rate, it showed that the experiment results align with the original hypothesis made. On this slide, it shows his graph with the percent of germination and the percent of soap concentration. Even though that he experienced 0 out of the 5 seeds germinating for his 0%, nevertheless, besides that, from 1% on to 3%, it shows that his hypothesis was supported, and that it may have just been an experimental error in the 1%. But nevertheless, his hypothesis was supported. Next, we have Gabby. Gabby tested the canola oil pollutant. She hypothesized that the more canola oil presented in the baggie, that the less seed germination that we'll be seeing. So she set her project up exactly how we did for our start germination project, with her having 0%, 1%, 1.5, 2%, 2.5, and 3%, and having each concentration broken up into different milliliters. For her 0% solution, she experienced growth as soon as day 1, and as it was expected, all seeds have germinated for her 0% solution. This basically showed how everyday life of a normal seed without any pollutants being added to it. So it was expected for 5 out of the 5 seeds to be germinated. For her 1% solution, she didn't experience any growth into day 2. And with this bag having the least amount of canola oil, it was a little bit of a timeline change from when it started to grow. But at the end, all 5 seeds germinated. For her 1.5 solution, she didn't experience any seed growth into day 3. This was a little change from the 1%, as it took a day longer. 4 out of the 5 seeds grew. For her 2%, she didn't experience growth to day 3, and at this point she started to notice how there started to be a decline in the seed growth, and she noticed how the canola oil was making it very hard for seeds to germinate in this bag. At the end of the 5 days, 3 out of the 5 seeds germinated. For her 2.5 solution, it was very similar to the 2% solution. She didn't experience any growth to day 4. At the end of the 5 days, she only seen 3 out of the 5 seeds germinated, and also as well, the canola oil made it hard for the seeds to germinate. In the 3%, she didn't see any growth until day 4, and only 2 out of the 5 seeds germinated. Just based off these results, it showed that her hypothesis was supported. And here on this slide shows her visual representation of how it was supported, because at 0%, 100% germination rate, but at 3%, it was at a 20% germination rate. And it shows how at each step, as the canola oil concentrate increased, the germination rate decreased. Next up is me, Leah Jackson. I tested olive oil. I hypothesized that since oil and water doesn't mix, and since oil floats, since oil and water doesn't mix, that the seeds with the least amount of olive oil concentration will have the highest amount of olive oil concentration. Due to this fact, these bags will have the least amount of germination. So I set my bag up exactly how we had it set for the salt seed germination experiment that we did, with 5 seeds in each bag. I used 5 milliliters of olive oil, and I set the bag up exactly how we did for that experiment, and I put my bags in a dark place. This is my day 1, which is my setup. As you can see in these beakers, containers, that the oil is floating above the water. For this picture in the middle, I think this is for my 1%, and as you can see, that's a big chunk of oil that's sitting on top of the water. So as you can see in this picture on the right, in 1%, you can see a heavy presence of the olive oil, and in 1.5, but in 3%, you can see no presence of the olive oil at that time. So for most of my bags, I didn't see any growth until day 3. And on day 3, I only seen growth in my 0% bag and in my 3% bag, which was very interesting because that kind of supported my hypothesis that the seed, it would affect the bags close, like lower in percentage. So at the end of my 5-day duration, 3 out of the 5 seeds grew for my 0%, 1 out of 5 seeds grew for my 1%, 1 out of 5 seeds for 1.5, 2 out of 5 for 2%, 3 out of 5 for 2.5, and 3 seeds for 3%. And this picture here shows the growth at day 5. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of water in these bags as well. So here is my graph. My graph showed, in conclusion, my hypothesis was supported. The bags with the smallest amount of concentration had the biggest amount of olive oil, and it showed in this graph. And it shows in the graph, as you can see, between 1% and 1.5%, it had a 20% germination rate, but 3% had a 60% germination rate. So my hypothesis was supported. In conclusion, in comparison to our experiments, using canola oil, dish soap, coconut oil, and olive oil all show a negative correlation between the concentration of the substance and the rate of seed growth. All 4 substances, when added in high concentration, negatively impacted seed growth. The results supported the hypothesis for each experiment. Thank y'all for watching our experiment. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day. Bye bye.